This video shows how to mount one of our permanent magnet alternators to the generator mounting kit. This round piece is the generator mount, and it's made out of 16 gauge galvanized steel, 2 inches in diameter. It's actually thin wall electrical conduit. This is the wind brace. This is also made out of galvanized, 16 gauge galvanized steel. The centerpiece here, this square tubing, is 1 inch 16 gauge steel, and it's not galvanized, but it does come primed with quality Rust-Oleum primer. All our parts are primed with Rust-Oleum primer. The tail section is 9 by 20, and it's also 16 gauge galvanized steel. And I've pre-assembled these to save a little time on this video. And when you bolt these up to the generator mount, it can go this way, so your tail section hangs down if that's the way you like, or it can go this way with the tail section up and the angle up. It's up to you, whichever way you want it to work. Either way, they will both work fine. They will both steer the unit with no problem whatsoever. All the hardware is hot dip galvanized for superior corrosion protection. Now the first step is to place a flat washer on each of the 8-inch tie rod bolts. Once that's done, you slide the bolts through the mounting flanges on the alternator. The next step after that is to take one of these rubber spacers and place one over each bolt. They fit kind of snug on the bolt, so it's easy to take a washer to force them on, and force each one up against the flange, and then remove that washer. The next step is to take one of the spacer tubes, and the short spacer tube goes with the thick mounting flange, and slide that over the tie rod bolt and over that rubber spacer. That spacer centers up this square or this spacer tube on the tie rod bolt. Do the same thing on the other one. The long spacer tube goes with the narrow flange, and slide that over the rubber washer. The next step is to add another rubber washer and slide that inside the spacer tube to line it up on the bolt. And you can use a flat washer to push it on, and then leave the flat washer on. Do the same thing on your other tie rod. Push that rubber washer in there, and that centers up that spacer on the tie rod bolt. The next step is to add the generator mount itself. That slides on over the bolts. The step after that is to add your wind brace strut and tail assembly. That slides on over the bolts, and then place a flat washer on each tie rod bolt, followed by a lock washer, and then the 3/8 nuts. When you tighten these nuts, you just need to tighten them until that flat washer or that lock washer is flat. Once that lock washer is flat, it will serve its purpose. You don't need to go very much past that. When you torque it, you'll feel it get tight, and that's all you need. If you over torque it, you can actually start to collapse this 2-inch tubing and make it egg shaped. So you just need to go far enough to flatten out that lock washer and then a little bit more, maybe an eighth of a turn more or so after you feel it tighten up. You'll feel it tighten down. And once it gets to that point, you don't need to go very much farther, or you start deforming that tube. This makes for a nice solid setup. And with each generator mounting kit, we provide a split shaft collar. You need an 1.5 inch standard pipe at the top of your tower or pole. That's what this unit will fit over. It slides down over a standard 1.5 inch pipe. And you need to mount this shaft collar, split shaft collar, about 8 inches down from the top and tighten it up. It holds very snugly. And also with each kit, you get a 2-inch PVC conduit bushing. And this acts as a bearing surface. Just a little dab of grease there, and it works very well for a bearing surface. That goes on top of your 1.5 inch pipe, and the bottom of your generator mount fits down into it, and it works very well. It makes the unit steer very nicely with the wind. It takes very little wind to steer the unit. This particular model is one of our older models. So we used to sell them with a 3-pronged plug on the generator leads, and that was for convenience. That allowed you to take a good quality extension cord and plug the female end onto this end, and then cut the male end off and use that for your lead down your pole or tower, and the other end you could hook to the rectifier. We no longer sell them this way because someone tried plugging this into a wall outlet and burnt things up. So they no longer come with that plug on there. If you want to purchase a high quality plug and put it on the end of your lead and use a high quality extension cord, it makes things convenient. That's all for this generator mounting assembly video. We're going to shoot another video in the next day or so that shows you how to make an inexpensive rotation arrestor. And it clamps to your 1.5 inch pipe and to your bottom tie rod bolt. And it limits the amount of travel either direction you have when this steers in the wind. And that prevents your power cord from wrapping up and putting stress on your power cord. We'll shoot that video and at the same time explain about mounting the blades and the correct amount of torque to put on your armature nut. You have to be careful. You don't want to over torque this armature nut. You can damage the generator if you do. This generator nut needs to be tightened with hand tools only. Do not use an electric or air impact wrench to do it, because you can damage the alternator. That's all for this video. If you have any questions, you can reach us through our contact page, windgeneratorsPro.com. Thank you very much.